Thank you for joining, everyone. We'll just be another minute as we wait for our participants to load in. Fantastic. And it looks like we have a critical mass. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight and good evening. Welcome to Congressman John Garamendi's Zoom town hall tonight. Due to the incredible engagement, we ask that you keep your questions to under 1 minute. That way we can answer as many questions as possible. If you'd like to ask Congressman Garamendi a question, please type it in the Q&A box. Once again, to ask a question, type your question in the Q&A box, not the chat. Please ensure that your name is listed on your Zoom account so we can call on you. If we are able to answer your question, I will introduce your name and you will receive a prompt to unmute your mic. Please follow that prompt because we are not able to unmute for you. We will try to answer as many questions as possible, but if we do not address your question tonight, please go to garamendi.house.gov/contact and submit it there for a response. This and many other links will be provided to all participants in the chat. You can also call any of our offices to record your comments with a member of the staff. Phone numbers can be found at garamendi.house.gov. To keep up to date with the information from our office, please follow the Congressman on all of his media platforms, which will also be posted in the chat, including signing up for his e-newsletter, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky. In addition, this town hall will be posted on the Congressman's YouTube account tomorrow if you'd like to share it with others. Also in the chat, you'll find links to services the Congressman provides to his constituents, such as receiving benefits from federal agencies. Please note that our office is here to help. We appreciate you taking time today, and we are excited to hear from you. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Congressman John Garamendi for some short opening remarks.
Bradley, thank you very much. Bradley, as my chief of staff, you've done excellent work getting all this together. You said something a moment ago that is really important, and that is my office is here to help you. It's a very, very difficult situation that all of America is in, and certain segments of our population are in desperate need of help. So I think what I'd like to do here is to ask you to get in touch with our district offices, those telephone numbers, and let us help you as best we can. Sometimes we may have access to information. Sometimes we may just be able to push some federal agency that is still open to address your concerns. But I think I'd like to also go to something that is normally done in the House of Representatives in a joint session of Congress, and that is the State of the Union. Every year, the president gives an address on the State of the Union. Why don't you and I do a State of the Union evening? And I'll give you my rundown on the state of our union, the American democracy, the United States of America. I'll do it quickly. And then you take it up from there. Your questions will undoubtedly go into that issue. But let's call this a 1-hour State of the Union discussion between me and you. So get your questions ready and we'll go forward. Normally, the State of the Union in Washington, D.C. at a joint session, the president normally will start off saying the State of the Union is healthy and prosperous and the economy is moving along very, very good. Occasionally, if you're in the middle of a pandemic, it goes the other direction. But nonetheless, here's my take. The state of our union is in desperate trouble. We are in trouble. We're in trouble in several different ways. First of all, our democracy itself. Trump said last year, when asked if he would be a dictator, he said, "Oh yeah, I'll be a dictator on day one." And indeed, on day one, he did things that only a dictator could do, and a president that was obeying the Constitution and the law would never be able to do. And that is, he terminated the U.S. Department of, the USAID, International Assistance Program. He made massive cuts in other programs. He hired or had in his at his table Musk's chainsaw, just chewing through government programs. and it was not a one-day event. It continues to this day. Right now, with this shutdown, Trump and his team are using the hungry Americans, children, adults who are on food stamps. He's using them as a lever to gain concessions from the Democrats on the issues that we're putting forward. And that's just the start of it. So on the democracy side, we're in trouble. On the economic side, the economy has gone along okay since Trump came into office. But there is a cliff out there because much of the money that has been authorized by law for infrastructure activities, everything from energy and electrical grids to roads and streets and sanitation, all of that is terminating. And there's going to be significant layoffs as that money runs through the various contracting and is gone and not to be replenished. In addition to that, the tariff situation has created just chaos across America. And I don't know how Trump can get away with saying, oh, don't worry, China's going to pay for the tariffs. Really? Really? Does he have any idea what a tariff is? Plain and simple, it is a tax on the American consumer. You may not see it immediately. It may be in a battery in the car that you want to buy. But nonetheless, it is an additional payment that American consumers will have to pay. And it is mounting to tens and billions of dollars. And so much for the pledge of bringing down the cost of healthcare. And finally, let's just touch on healthcare. Here's why the Democrats are holding out and not going along with a continuing resolution to fund the government until the 21st of November. Trump and the Republicans pushed through what is known as the big, ugly bill. That bill provided more than $1 trillion of tax cuts. 80% or more goes to the wealthy people, millionaires, and to corporations. Small tax cuts for working men and women. However, to pay for that massive hole in the deficit, the Treasury, the Republicans decided to cut benefits that everyday Americans rely upon. We see this in the SNAP program right now. Those cuts were made specifically to help fill the hole from the tax cuts. You take a look at what our principal issue has been, and now adding SNAP and the food programs. It was the Affordable Care Act insurance. 24 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act insurance program. That program is subsidized by the federal government. Those subsidies terminate December 31st. And all those 24 million people out there have to sign up, not knowing, or actually knowing that their subsidy is over and they will pay anywhere from 2 to 4 times more for their health insurance. In California, it's well over 2 million people. And the increase is, well, let me give you an example. We had a phone call in the office about a woman. What's going on here? My health insurance is going from $800 a month to $2,200 a month. Why? Well, I just explained why. Because the subsidy ends and the Republicans are refusing to renew it. And we're saying, no, healthcare is important. We don't want 24 million Americans to lose their healthcare. And next year, to make it even worse, the Republicans lined up massive, over $880 billion cuts to the Medicaid program. And this is seniors in hospitals, nursing homes, young men, young women, children, all the rest. So we've got a major healthcare fight. So with that, that's my take on the State of the Union.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a couple questions, but just to remind folks, if you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and put that in the Q&A box. Once again, type it into the Q&A box. Our first question is going to come from Mike Montez, and then right after that, we're going to have Richard Freeman. So Richard, be ready, but Mike, you should have that unmute button ready. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Anytime you're ready.
We're ready for you.
Okay, what can be done to restore telehealth for elderly disabled shut-ins? Do not have to pay $100 telehealth charge to Medicare. I may end up going to the ER with the paramedics to see a simple clinic provider.
That is really a very, very important question. As I spoke a few moments ago, most of the cuts are going to be in the Medicaid area. Almost all of those, but not all, will occur after the next election. Republicans thought they were so smart, they'll put it up after the next election. However, some of the cuts are already going into place as the states are preparing for a massive reduction in support from the federal government. So what can be done here? It's part of the effort that we're making as Democrats to push back on the entire healthcare tragedy that Trump and the Republicans are putting on Americans. And this is one part of it. It is not directly related to the Affordable Care Act insurance premiums, but there are certain programs like telehealth and others that are going to be affected. Right now, and this brings us, I'm going to skip this little thing about Prop 50, but it plays directly into your question. Let's go to the next question.
Thank you, sir. Richard, you should get that unmute prompt. Perfect. And then right after Richard, we're going to have Maureen Hatfield. Richard, you are live.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm wondering, the rate we're going, another 3 years of this so-called administration, are we in fact, to the best of your knowledge, helpless to stop this and rather than having to endure another 3 years of it? Thank you.
Well, I said I was going to let Prop 50 go for a few moments, but I think I better go there directly. The answer is we are never, never helpless. We are Americans. We are voters, and we are people that are willing to go to the streets. 7 million went to the street on No King Day, and I suspect the next one, maybe next month, whenever it's scheduled, it'll have 10 million people. So we are never, never helpless. If we care enough about these issues and involve ourselves, then we can address your concerns, which happen to be mine. So Prop 50. Prop 50 passed in California with a very unexpected, well, a very hopeful margin of victory, well over 60%, and almost, well, very close 2-1. That is a sign that the Californians, and also many Americans participated by dialing to the various homes and walking precincts. But the reality is that we now have an opportunity in California to push back against what Trump did in Texas. He persuaded the Texas governor and legislature, persuaded is the wrong word, demanded the Texas governor and legislature pass a new redistricting for Texas that could and probably will create 5 additional Republican seats, virtually guaranteeing that the Republicans would be in power the next Congress, which begins in January of 27. And the election, of course, is in 26. The California, those of us in California leadership, myself and others, said we cannot just stand by and let that happen. We can and we must do our own redistricting. Now, California's had a redistricting commission. We did not want to torpedo that, but we did want to set it aside for one time. And that's what Prop 50 did. It creates new district maps and provides an opportunity for Democrats to have a better chance of succeeding in 5 new districts in California. So that was what Prop 50, enormous support across the state. I think one of the highest turnouts ever on a special election. Californians said, okay, Texas, we'll show you that we're actually the big state. And we're not going to let you run the mill here. We're going to fight back. So yes, Now that brings us to next year's elections, which will decide whether those are Republican or Democratic seats. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, sir. On deck, we have Thomas McCone, but Maureen Hatfield, we have you next. Maureen, you should have a prompt to unmute.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Hi, Congressman Garamendi. Thank you so much for being here this evening. This question is a little bit off what we've been discussing, but I'm very, very concerned, and it's kind of dropped off any kind of amplifying. California Forever, the billionaire community, can you update us on where we are with that? I'm very worried about that.
Well, it's a massive proposal
Yeah.
with no real programs. We don't know where the money's going to go. We don't know where the cities are going to go, and so on and so forth. Right now, it's a lot of talk.
Okay.
As it moves forward, it must move into specificity. What are they going to do about Highway 12? How are they going to deal with the road between 12 and Dixon, which is a terrible road? Where's the water? Where's the sanitation? All of those questions will need to be answered. And apparently that answer is likely to come in the effort now in the city of Suisun to annex, I think, some 16,000 acres into the city of Suisun. And that would then fall to the city council to make sure those questions are adequately answered. Now, the Board of Supervisors have a lot to say about this before it does get to the city. But that issue, the city of Suisun is moving forward with their annexation proposal. That will play out over the next several months. Again, a lot of information has to be forthcoming. And we'll see. If it's not there, then it shouldn't happen. But these questions are fundamental to the well-being of the rest of Solano County and, frankly, to the taxpayers themselves. So that's where it is right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. On deck, we have Clifford Porter, but first we have Thomas McCone. Thomas, you should have an unmute symbol. Perfect.
I do. Congressman, I want to just thank you so much for everything you do for us. It's the most difficult time, I mean, to be in Congress, I'm sure, and to be an American citizen. I live in El Cerrito. My question is in a little different topic, but certainly very important. Currently in Brazil, the COP, Conference of the Parties, 30 is meeting to try to address the climate crisis. And of course, the United States is totally absent because of the incompetence and just refusal of the Trump administration to even deal with this. So my question is, what can Congress or you or we do to salvage any remaining options that the U.S. has to address the climate crisis in this really difficult situation?
Well, you're certainly correct about two difficult things here. One is the climate crisis itself. This is a very serious threat to the world in which we live in. And I've been following this since 1978, where the El Nino issue, the Pacific warm water moves were first discussed, and in policy. And actually in 78, because of that discussion, I authored legislation which became law that had a tax credit for solar, wind, and conservation. So California's been at this for a long, long time. Governor Brown signed that bill, and in various ways it has survived these many, many years. Now, so there really is a problem, and the deniers of the problem are just plain wrong. But frankly, they have a very big microphone now, and that's Trump and his administration, basically denying that there's a problem. This is a setback. It's not the first setback that I have seen and been involved in over these many, many years. Every time a Republican administration in California and really in Washington, D.C. Gets into power, the climate issue moves from the top of the agenda, or the top 3 or 4, down to the bottom 9 and 10. And often reversed, that is progress reversed. Trump has done that in a horrible, massive, dangerous way. And that he's basically drill, baby, drill, open every opportunity there is for coal and oil, terminate all of the tax credits and subsidies for green technology and for building green. The result is that the effort to go green, to go to renewables, is stalled. Now, that brings us to what to do. Well, Prop 50, thank you, California. You set the stage, an opportunity for Californians to fight back and quite probably gain control of the House of Representatives. If we are successful in gaining control of the House of Representatives, the last 2 years of the Trump administration, he will not be able to continue the kind of decimating the green issue that he has, or any other policy for that matter. We can hold him to account and stop the excesses that we've seen. So that brings us back to, the next election next year. So hopefully we'll have a good run as Democrats, and hopefully we'll be able to take back the House and hold Trump and his policies to account. And in some places we might be able to restore. That we'll see. Well, that's going to be difficult, but at least we've got to put the brakes on this man.
Thank you, Congressman. And next we have Clifford Porter, and following Clifford, we'll have Peggy Peterson. Clifford, you are live.
Thank you, and thank you, Congressman Garamendi, for taking my question. You may recall my voice from 2 months ago. I was the author of Prospect 2026 as the antidote to the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. I did email to your liaison, Ms. Debbie Gibbs. I am following up with you, Congressman, to ask if you have had time to read the document and if there's any way that I can fulfill my pledge of helping you by fighting fire with fire and offering you a plan forward, as well as the other Democratic colleagues in the House and the Senate.
Yes, I have not read it in the kind of detail to pass a senior college exam, but in going through it as I did, much of what I've been talking about is covered by your work. How to deal with the climate change, how to deal with the votes and other things. And there's a political piece in it, some of which I've discussed here. But which I think we're pretty much tracking. What I do not have and did not do is to look at the detail about how to carry out many of the proposals that you've made. But, a little prodding, well, why don't I pick that up and get on it while we're waiting for Speaker Johnson to open the House of Representatives.
Well, Congressman,
thank you.
You're welcome. If you'd like someone or myself to assist, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. And if you need someone to kind of shake up Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, perhaps I'm your guy. Please keep me in mind.
Well, if you could shake loose his intransigence, I would be most appreciative. Thank you very much. And yes, we'll go over that and we'll get back in touch with you right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clifford. Next up, we have Peggy Peterson, and after Peggy, we'll have Sheila. Peggy, you are live.
Thank you for taking my question, Congressman.
Sure.
I'm concerned about Trump's use of ICE and the CBP as what seems to be a nearly personal police force, as it's currently directed by Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, Holman, and Bovino. The National Guard is being used outside of their mission. Travis Air Force Base is in your district. Do you have insight into how the military is reacting and whether we can expect them to uphold their oaths to the Constitution? Will the military refuse illegal orders?
Well, your question goes right to the heart of this entire immigration issue and right to the heart of our democracy. You touch on both of those. With regard to the immigration issue, Trump and Noem, Secretary Noem, are creating the largest domestic police force in our nation's history. And they are using that police force, not just the ICE enforcement, but also the Customs and Border Patrol and a few others along the way, to basically subject Americans, and certainly immigrants, to authoritarian excesses. I can give you examples. You could probably give me more. But the reality is that that police force is out and about in our cities, and it is terrorizing our people. Woodward, the fellow from the reporter, Washington Times, that was involved in the Nixon tape issue, wrote a book about Trump. And the title is Fear, F-E-A-R, Fear. And it talks about the way in which Trump uses fear to get his way. And that's precisely what is happening. He is terrorizing, certainly immigrants, but also terrorizing communities. And then adding to this is the deployment of the military. To use the word National Guards when they are deployed doesn't cover the power. We think of National Guard being, okay, California National Guard, we know them. He lives down the street, it's okay. No, it is not okay. Once that National Guard is nationalized, it is under the thumb and total control of the president. And it is and will be, could be, a very serious additional way in which Trump will gain control of our cities. There's a lot of concern that this control has to do with the upcoming election. And maybe I'll go to that issue, but that he will scare away voters using these three instruments. So it's a very serious problem. With regard to the National Guard and the military, there's a law that dates back to the 1700s. And that law was written because the founding fathers and the leading men and women both men and women at that time feared the deployment of the military in the streets. They were redcoats at that time. Now those people are deployed in tactical gear. And we have reason to be concerned. So that's called the Posse Comitatus law. And Trump is just ignoring it. There are numerous lawsuits underway across the nation to address the appropriateness of the deployment. And so that is underway. Watch it carefully. Certainly I and my team are watching it carefully. Now, I guess I ought to really scare you. If the Republicans control the House of Representatives in the 27-28 congressional period, they will be in a position to deal with the certification of the Electoral College. Now, the timing is such that it may not work, but if the Congress is controlled in 27, would it be controlled in 28? 29? The answer is possibly. And if it is, if the Electoral College vote is not certified, and this is what the January 6th insurrection was all about, was to deny the certification of the Electoral College vote. If that had happened, and there was a deadlock, then immediately it would move to a state-by-state vote for the presidency. Okay? You can imagine there's about 22 blue states and the rest are all red states. The red states would select the next election with the next president. Now, I've been trying to get clarity on this. Do they have to vote for the nominee of the Republican Party, or can they select someone else? So when Trump is talking about a third presidency, my mind immediately goes to this issue. So there you have it. Something to worry about. I'm looking for clarity among the constitutional lawyers. Probably not going to find it. My hope is that the Democrats will control the Congress in 28, and the 28 election is clear. We might be able to keep the troops off the street if we control the Congress. We might be able to rein in ICE and Customs and Border Patrol if we control Congress. Two letters, if. If we don't, The Republicans will do anything they want, and I am concerned. Let's get a new question. How about a happy question? Are the Raiders going to win tonight?
Thank you, sir. Next we have Sheila Gurwitz, I believe, and then after that we'll have Jody Waters. Sheila, you are live.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. I'm just concerned with the SNAP reductions and all the stuff that's happening and how to help our community. I wonder if you have like resources or places I could go to volunteer and pass out or provide help. And I'm sure others want to do that as well.
Indeed, they do. First of all, on the national political scene, Trump is using, well, on the national political scene, in the appropriation process, at least $5 billion and perhaps a good deal more was appropriated for emergencies at the Department of Agriculture, and SNAP is in the Department of Agriculture. The president could, and has been told by judges that he should, use that emergency money to continue the federal payments to the states for the state SNAP programs. The president has refused to do that. And even at $5 billion, that's enough to get us to the 20th of November, so that the program could continue to that point. And presumably by that time, maybe we have a solution to the shutdown. There are other emergency programs that there's discussion could also be used for the SNAP program. That's at the federal level. I raise that because Trump is purposely using hunger of all things, as a lever to force us Democrats to simply bend the knee, kiss his ring, and move along with the cuts in Medicaid and in the Affordable Care Act. And it's a dilemma for us. My wife and I have spent our entire adult career working on hunger. First in Ethiopia in the 1960s, and then my wife at the Department of Agriculture, running the international food programs. So, yeah, this one hurts. Now, individually, what can we do? There are programs that are underway. The food bank has geared up. I've met with them twice in the last 3 weeks to discuss what can be done. There will be increases in donations to the food bank, and then they there distribute the food to various organizations around Solano and Contra Costa County, similarly in the other all of California. So there are ways of doing it. What can you do personally? I would assume that there is an organization near you, a local organization, a church, maybe another program that is already distributing food from the food banks. And so I would get in touch with my team. We'll get your address and we'll line you up with people that are there. They're going to need volunteers. They will undoubtedly need some money. Those are all things that can be done. For me, I'm in a fight, and I don't propose to lose this fight, because this is something that is near and dear to both Patty and I. And to use food as a lever, as a cudgel, as a bat, to force us to abandon the health care of millions. Medicaid, about 100 million Americans affected by that. And, no, I'm not giving up. But we have to get this resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And next up, we're going to have Judy Waters, and then after that, David Lavoie. Jody, you should be live.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you, Congressman. I just had a question when it comes to the actual cost of healthcare. So we're talking about the Affordable Care Act and the way forward, but what measures are being taken to actually look into the overall cost of healthcare, the root cause? We're talking about pharmaceutical companies, we're looking at the actual cost of medicine, and then insurance companies just profiting off of illness at large. what measures are being taken to actually just get to that root cause instead of just putting a bandage on the wound instead of going in and actually tackling some of those? That's my question for you, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to put this very straightforward. A single payer universal health care program must be the American mechanism to finance health care. We're partly there. Medicare. If we took the time to expand Medicare, dealing with the intricacies, and not just dealing with seniors, you're going to be dealing with babies. In fact, babies that are born with a problem do go on Medicare now. But I've been at this a long, long time. As chairman of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee in 78 to 62. And we dealt with this issue in very different ways. And over the years, I've been an advocate, worked with President Clinton, developed his healthcare proposal, which was a single-payer universal healthcare system, merging the multiple federal healthcare programs, each one with its own different overhead requirements, and merging and also dealing with the insurance industry. And yes, indeed, the insurance company is using the present healthcare system to basically fatten their profits. And you're going to sign up for it. So what to do until we finally gain an understanding that we can have an efficient, effective healthcare system that is a whole lot cheaper, far more efficient, far more effective. But we're not there yet. That debate's going on. Whatever time I have in this business, I am going to continue to do what I'm doing now. Push for a universal single-payer healthcare system. It's Medicare. Expand it. Bring people into it. Adequately finance it. Push the insurance companies out of the way. Make sure the benefits are there. And make sure there's no cheating. There's a lot of cheating in the present system. Republicans are correct, and the Democrats are correct. There's cheating out there. And there are criminal actions underway with Biden's Department of Justice. God knows what the current Department of Justice is going to do. So there's a better way of doing this. If you scroll back through my history in some way, you'll see articles that I've written on this and essays in the Clinton administration and the like. We're not going to get there tomorrow. But we'll never get there until we recognize that there's a far, far better way of providing the health care that is affordable, effective, and efficient.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. And next we have David, followed by Bruce Gunther. David, you should have, you have that prompt. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hi. So that leads on to the question I was asking about the Affordable Care Act is not affordable as being subsidized by taxpayers. So I have to pay for my health insurance, my wife's health insurance, and somebody else's health insurance. What is being done to help, a single payer system or have us fix the system? Because 30 years, 40 years, as like you said, has been going on forever.
Yes. Here's what has happened is that we have had two goals, not in conflict, but two goals. When I say we, I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, and basically the American public. Two goals. One is to make sure that everybody has access to quality health care. And that is a goal that we should never give up. The second is, how do we best achieve that? And the Affordable Care Act was put forward as a way of getting Americans insured into an insurance system so that they would be able to have necessary care, whether it was serious, or also be able to have the necessary updates in their health. And it became law. It is the administration of it is by the states, and the federal government pays the states to both administer and to make the payments. So excuse me, that's not universal. Some states go directly to the federal government. California has insurance, Covered California, for example, that does that. It is a system that achieved one of the goals, and that was to get nearly everybody insured. Now, what we're faced with right now is the backsliding that is in the current federal appropriation, and that's why we have this shutdown. We don't want to backslide, but we definitely need to improve this system. And I've been an advocate for merging many of these programs to reduce the overhead and the efficiency and effectiveness. So I keep coming back to that. There are ways we can do this. Now, you spoke to the fact that you're paying taxes. I'm paying taxes. I am definitely not in the Affordable Care Act insurance pool. And so, yes, my tax money is being used for a variety of purposes, including healthcare. Does that bother me? Well, it certainly bothers me when it goes to some of my favorite bugaboos out there. And one of those happened to be nuclear weapons. And there we're talking about $280 billion to build a new Minuteman III missile. So along the way, what we must do is to address the issue you raised, that is fairness issue. And secondly, always figure out how can we make this system function better. Now, during my 8 years as insurance commissioner, I took up this issue. And we produced a document in 1995 about the cost of healthcare and how it could be done quicker. It ought to be somewhere on my website, and I'm just told Bradley, that document ought to be somewhere on our website. So go back, scroll back. We put that together with an extraordinary team of practitioners, insurance companies, and I'll use them, think tanks, individuals. So some of that has been, well, all of that has been my guide for the future. I'm going to take another question, but we're into a very serious and very, very important policy issue here that America has not yet figured out a good solution. But with the Affordable Care Act, the insurance rate went into the 90s.
Thank you, sir. And was that priced out you were talking about?
Yes, exactly.
I will put it in the chat. Next up, we have Bruce Gunther. Bruce, are you still with us?
I am. Hello, Congressman. How are you doing today or tonight, rather, just thank you for everything that you're representing the community here. My question is just really basic. It can be a yes or no, but I'm curious to know if any of your delegates are able to advocate for a federal employee for reasonable accommodation due to medical disabilities, especially those that are service-connected for veterans.
Yeah, I want to make sure I heard you. Your question had to do with housing and support for disabled Americans.
I'm actually a federal employee, so I've applied for reasonable accommodation for telework or for a federal office closer to my residence. I'm currently denied, but I'm just curious to know if the delegate of any congressperson can advocate for.
There are two pieces to this, and yes or no doesn't really work. There is a federal function here that has to do with payment, both on the housing side and also on the continuing health care that's needed. The zoning issue, which I think you were talking about, really comes down to the state. Now, the state has passed laws that make it easier, more likely, that facilities, housing facilities of all kinds can be put forward, including a annex to an existing home. So you may want to look at that. Get in touch with my team. We'll give you all the information we have. On the federal side, given the funding issues that I've spent a lot of time talking about, many of those funding programs are going to be under assault. So I'm not sure I answered fully, but get in touch with my team and I'll try to get down to the detail you seem to need for a full answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. And Bruce, I will be sending you in the chat our privacy release form for casework as well. So please go and check that out as well. Next on deck, we have John. And then after John, we're going to go to Lamont White. John, you should be seeing a prompt to unmute right now.
Yes, thank you. So, Congressman, my question is basically, with Prop 50, many of us are feeling even further isolated. And I know that many of our Congresspeople strive to be bipartisan and down the middle, but the fervor of politics seems to be getting more and more in the way. So what are your plans to be able to support individuals like myself, retired veterans, and people that consider ourselves conservatives that may have had potentially a new congressperson in our district 3 times in the past 10 years and see the drive for this just as further somewhat gerrymandering and isolationism?
I'm just trying to add up 3 years. If I may, where do you live? Well, without the answer to that question, and
sorry, it keeps muting. But I do live in Vallejo, so I've
okay
between yourself and Mike, and
yeah. The first change occurred with the decennial count of Americans. And that resulted in the commission, an independent commission, drawing new districts. And as a result of that, I moved from East Solano County, Vacaville, Dixon, Rio Vista, to West Contra Costa County, to Benicia and Vallejo. And I must tell you, I was delighted with the new district and sad to lose the old district. So that's one of those 3 years. I'm going to go back to the previous decennial, which created a district that did not include Benicia and Vallejo, but did include Fairfield and Vacaville. And I ran for office in that in 2009 and represented those communities in addition to a large segment of Contra Costa County for a few months. Then the new lines came in and my district moved to the Sacramento Valley. But I was able to keep Fairfield and Vacaville, Dixon, and Rio Vista. Now, this new Prop 50 really returns me to where I have been. The new 8th Congressional District will include Vallejo, all of Solano County, communities that I represented over the last 15 years. Some of them for more than all of the 15 years. So for me, it's not a change. And for Mike Thompson, he no longer represents Vallejo. Incidentally, Vallejo is an extraordinary community. Obviously, it has serious issues, but it also has enormous potential. The Mare Island facilities that were built there from the 1860s are an extraordinary potential economic engine. And we're putting forth, or I guess I'm putting forth together with 3 of my colleagues, a program called the SHIPS Act. And this is the revitalization of the American maritime industry, including shipbuilding and ship repair. And Vallejo happens to be the most prominent and best opportunity on the West Coast. There are other things that are being talked about, Collinsville and the like, and those too may have their own potential. But with the SHIPS Act, I see an opportunity to revitalize the economic activity and the economic potential in the Vallejo, well, basically in Solano County. And there's also the offshore wind issue. Now, Trump has killed the offshore wind industry, but we were very, very close to begin building an offshore wind program in Eureka and down in San Luis Obispo. If those had gone forward and had not been killed by Trump, we would this year, next year, begin to assemble in the Bay Area the massive floating barges that are necessary on which to install these towers and the wind turbines. We could do that in the Bay Area, and we could also assemble some of those parts of the wind turbines, opening up opportunities in Richmond as well as over in Benicia and over in Contra Costa County, well, northeast Contra Costa County. You got me going. Okay, next question.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Lamont White. You are live. Lamont, please try to unmute your mic. And as he's trying to do that, team, let's keep him on. I'm going to actually read out a question that we had from an anonymous person, so we can't call on them. But they said, neighborhoods are still being harassed by ICE and ICE impersonators. How do we get justice? How do we stay safe?
I'm going to come to that, but the previous question, I missed a couple of really key features of the question. I got into what I want to see happen in the Bay Area with the maritime industry, and that got me going. The question also revolved around the issue of bipartisanship, the current knockdown, drag-out fights that occur not only in Congress, but really across the nation, the rhetoric that is out there, very, very dangerous rhetoric. We need to tone it down. And that includes me. Well, I can get pretty excited about the potential. I never get excited about personal vindictive assaults on anybody. But the reality is that it's not good. There is, however, going back to the SHIPS Act, there are two Democrats, myself in the House of Representatives, and Senator Kelly out of Arizona, and two Republicans, Representative Trent Kelly from Alabama, and Senator Young. So it's a bipartisan, and we're working together every single day, our staff and conversations at least once a week with one or another of the four of us, moving this thing along. And also, to his credit, President Trump has made this one of his issues, and he and his administration are also pushing it. It will be noticed because it is an extremely important piece of legislation, and it will be noticed, and you'll hear from it from time to time. But it is bipartisan, and the president is tuned in with his support. So it does happen, and I'm happy to be part of that. Okay, that question, which I totally forgot.
And sir, we actually have Lamont now, so I'll let Lamont go first, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Well, first I would like to say, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Well, first I would like to say thank you to you guys because about a year and a half ago, I was living in an apartment complex that started a fire, and if it wasn't for you guys helping me to relocate, I possibly wouldn't have a roof over my head right now. So I want to thank everybody in you guys' office for that. My question is, do you happen to have any information on how long this CalFresh deadline will be?
Well, there are two things that we're talking about here. One, CalFresh is the SNAP program. This is the the supplemental food program. How long will California be able to go with that? I know the state government is subsidizing it now in anticipation of being paid back by the federal government. I talked about this at length. The answer is, I don't know, but I hope and I will work to see that it is as soon as possible. All it will take is one paragraph in the continuing resolution that needs to be written that extends the support, the subsidy for the Affordable Care Act insurance. And if that were to be written into a paragraph on a continuing resolution, this would be over. Thus far, the Republicans refuse to do that, and Trump is refusing to even negotiate. Now, that's on the insurance side of it. With regard to the food program, the money is available. Trump can make the money available for a continuation of the SNAP program in California and across the nation anytime he wants to. He could go on Twitter, whatever it is, on his account. He can say, I changed my mind once again. And this time I want the SNAP programs to go forward and the money to flow. That's all it takes. And that money is sufficient to at least the 20th of this month. And there is another account that has been discovered that might be able to be used to carry it on until this shutdown is over. Very good. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, sir. And actually, we are at the end of the hour, so I can wrap up or you can wrap up, whoever wants to do it first.
Well, I'll wrap up. You may want to do some things. I just want to thank you.